What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. It is the beginning of the football season. People are going crazy. I need my Taylor Hanekes. I need my hankies. I need my pankies. We're in the ramp up to basketball season. We're weeks away from the NBA season beginning. We are seeing the NBA market begin to, it seems like, warm up anyway. A lot of stuff was up from the summer. So, of course, what are we going to talk about today? You got it. Baseball. Going to touch on a couple players because that's what we should be doing. All the money is getting thrown at football cards right now. The money that's not getting thrown at football cards is getting thrown at basketball cards. What does that mean? Deals in baseball, in my opinion, or approaching the season of deals in baseball. Their season is winding down. A lot of players are eliminated from the playoffs / underperforming / whatever. And I think it could potentially be a good time to make some nice safe plays. You have to sit on it for a few months. But I think we're approaching the bottom of the baseball market or the flattening period. So you might have some time to jump in on these, but just some names and some cards to put on your radar. So market movers a bunch today. Link in the description down below. All the other YouTube stuff. Smash like buttons, subscribe, share the video with a friend, all the jazz. Follow me. I don't talk about this enough. Follow me on all the other social platforms. Twitter and Instagram handles are in the description down below as well. As I said in the video the other day, a lot of times I will spoil pickups on IG by posting photos of them and then, randomly throw stuff up on Twitter here and there. So let's dive in. We're only going to talk about a couple players, so I'll try to keep this quick. I know I always say that, and then 45 minutes later. Tatis. Fernando Tatis. This is his base refractor, and that's what I'm using for all these players. Now, you could probably sub in and out whatever card that you want. If you like his base refractor, that's cool. If you like his pink refractor, that's cool. X fractor, or whatever. You could probably even look at, I did not look to see if this general trends carry over to like first Bowmans and all that stuff. But in general, I think the same rules apply there. His team is imploding on itself. They're fighting in the dugouts. He's still playing pretty well, but the team is not. They're going to miss the playoffs. They're punching each other. It's a mess. His cards have really cooled off a lot lately, and I think we're heading into the dead zone for them. I ran these charts back to mid-August of last year. Now, there's some caveats here. First big one is baseball really spiked up in January. Right after Christmas, baseball started going nuts. That did coincide with the sports card market as a whole going nuts. So, is that normal? Or is that an outlier because the entire market went up again? I'm going to say a little of column A, a little of column B. I think the numbers got inflated so much because the market was going crazy. I think the run-up, the time that it started, was a little early, but in general, most baseball prices peaked in March. The only exception to that, obviously, was Ohtani and Vlad, has been much discussed. Their run-ups came later in the season because they were slept on in the preseason. But we're going to be talking about guys that are not going to be slept on in the preseason, in my opinion. Tatis is one of those. When you look at last year's numbers as the season wound down, so as I record this today, it is September 22nd. So on September 22nd last year, his base refractor was $405. It bottomed out at around $300, $325, $315, $350. And that was in mid-November. So about 2 months from now. As we look at these other players, we're going to see similar trends, but the bottoming out period is a little different. Some players dipped down a little bit more into the fall. A couple stayed perfectly flat almost throughout October, November, December, and then spiked back up again. So the question is, and you can see, so then it rides way up in January, kind of levels out for about a month, and then in mid-February spikes up again. then starts cooling back down as the season approaches. This is when he signed his extension right here. This is when Tatis got the big extension. So he was already up, leveled out, spiked up again, immediately came back down again because that was extension. That was not a real legitimate bump up. Slowly pull back, gets hurt to start the season, comes back with like 3 or 4 home runs, spikes back up again, and then we're basically on a slow downward decline throughout the season. So this is, from his peak here, February 27th. Let's run this from February 27th through today. And I can only imagine how astronomical this is going to be down. So this is from his all-time high, is down 56%, $849. Now, like one card sold at this price. So, is that entirely fair? Probably not. We should probably use 228 to kind of take the averages of that peak. So down 50%, $650. But you can see the trend. Season starts, goes down, gets hurt, really goes down, comes back, pops back up again, levels out, goes down because I think he got hurt again, came back, did its thing, and has kind of been flat to slightly trending down. Like if we go back let's look at last 60 days on Tatis Refractor, down 14%, so slowly trending down. So the question is where does this hit the bottom? Does this keep going down? Does this get sub $600? Can you get these for $550, $500? I'm not going to run out and buy a bunch of Tatis Refractors tomorrow, but the key thing to keep in mind here is this is on my radar. I am going to start setting save searches for auctions specifically, and start following them when they end. And if it looks like something might get a little too cheap, might be time to pounce. For me, if this thing drops 600, it's really going on my radar. If this goes below 600, especially closer to 550, I would be looking to make a move on this because I think, in theory, you'll be able to hold it and potentially sell it in the run-up next year. Now, maybe the run-up doesn't happen. Football didn't have a run-up, been much discussed. The run-up happened super early in football, but the baseball offseason is also much shorter. The NBA market appears to have had a run-up. If you go back from July until now, a lot of guys are up. I still need to do a deep dive on that, but a lot of the household names are up, and we're strictly talking household names here today. And once again, you do not have to solely focus in on the Tatis Refractor. I would look at Tatis Color. I would not look at flagship base. There's way too many of those, and even Chrome base, unless that's where your budget takes you. But that stuff should probably bottom out as well. For me personally, I'm looking at refractors, PSA 10, PSA 9, pink, PSA 10, PSA 9, and the other Topps Chrome stuff specifically. But I do think there's an interesting buying opportunity window here over the next 30 to 60 days. The football market, eyes are still going to continue to be on that. And then the NBA season is going to start in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. To me, right around that time feels like maybe the time to really pounce on baseball, because that's going to be more money. People are going to be split between basketball and football, and baseball, other than guys in the playoffs, is going to be out of everyone's mind. So this is a card that's going on my watch list, or a player in general. Next up, same exact stuff. Juan Soto Pink Refractor. We've talked about this card an absolute ton on the channel. I own 2 of these, full disclosure. I also own 1 base refractor Tatis, full disclosure. Juan Soto Pink Chrome Refractor update. This is one, I'll go into it really quickly for those that don't know the situation behind this one. The way Soto got called up and when he got called up caught everyone off guard. Therefore, his cards were not in a lot of product. So his base refractor is numbered. I believe, what is it out of? Out of 250? Out of 250. It sells for astronomical sums of money. We'll see if one sold recently. He has very limited number of refractor cards out there because his main refractor, this guy right here, is numbered out of 250. It's pop 80 in a PSA 10. The last one sold for 4K. 4K. Last one did $4,000. So that's a pretty big card. The pink is his really only common refractor. He has his Topps Chrome base, his Topps Chrome pink, his numbered refractor, then rookie auto, and then there's also, I believe, some numbered variations on it, but good luck. You think His other stuff's expensive. The other interesting thing about this is pink refractors are retail exclusives, also very low population. This in a PSA 10 is only 650. So even this is extremely low. But you notice the same pattern here. Last fall, this went perfectly flat. It was, let's see, on September 22nd last year, about a year ago, it was doing around about $600, $650, and it stayed relatively flat all the way through December. The lowest it got was 500, and there was only a couple sales at 500. This is a card that does not have a lot of transaction volume. I went back a year and about 2 weeks, and only 101 have sold. So you really got to, if you want this card, you have to pounce when the time is right. I picked both mine up at the National. It was a card I was specifically hunting for at the National. I got them for about $800 a piece, and that was in trade value because I traded the Vlad Sapphire for those. But you can see they get their run up. Christmas, actually, they start mid-December. This starts going up. Here's mid-December at 600. By January 9th, it's up to 1,200. By mid-February, mid to late February, it's 2K plus. And then it sits at around 18 to 1900 almost through the entire month of March. April starts, it starts going down. He did start the season slow. The Nats kind of sucked this season, to be quite honest. And then he really kicked it on after the All-Star break. As mediocre as the first half of the season was for him, and a mediocre first half of the season for him is still pretty damn good, the back half, the second half of the season has been absolutely insane. Soto to me is one of the best young, safest buys out there in baseball, whether it's for short term if you're buying on the lows like this, or a longer term hold if you're buying a bigger card. He already has the ring. It's just all systems go for him. And heaven forbid if he ever leaves there and goes to a big market, his stuff will go wild. But you can see this held at around 2K for a long stretch. Let's see, it popped at 2,200, went back down to 1,800 on 224. And then for the entire month of March, this was a 2K card. Then it slowly started coming down. It got all the way down to 650. Boy, I missed the boat on that one. Spiked back up to 800. And it's basically been, 800's basically been the floor for a while. It has actually come back up a little bit. There's an $1,100 sale, a $900 sale, and a $1,000 sale just in the last couple days. So I'll be curious to see. This is one that, as if this gets back down to 800, I would actually look to pick up a third, to be quite honest. Or if I could trade into one or something like that. Anything around that $800 number, I would be in on. And like I said, these don't come up very often. This is a card that people aren't going to sell just to move it. So you basically have to wait out an auction. Or get lucky and find someone that's willing to move it at the most recent comps. But this card's pretty much always on my radar. I think it's extremely undervalued because of the whole situation with his rookies, and just the talent that he is. So I think a lot of people disregard it because it's the pink, but then they don't realize the whole situation around his stuff. Like I said, we talk about this often. So, but Soto's the other one that is definitely hardcore going on my watch list. And last but not least, is Cuny, and we have two bonus mentions that I'll bring up really quick. Cuny, same thing. Down, 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 down. He actually dipped the most during the winter last year. In mid-September, his base refractor was going for about $235. By Thanksgiving, it was going for $170. Not a huge decrease, but percentage-wise, it was a pretty big drop. We get to around mid-December, once again, December 17th, about the same time Soto started going up. One sold for $185. By January 18th, they were $440. By mid-March, they were $800. And then early in the season, they got up to $862. Now, here's the thing. His stuff spiked in mid-March like everybody else's. Got up to $700. Came back down again right when the season started. It was going along doing okay, $600, $600. Then he had the most torrid week ever, and his stuff went right back up again. 800, 825, 850, and then the season kicks in, it starts doing its thing. He starts coming down. Right here is about when he tore his ACL. It dropped down, and then has kind of leveled out at around, what's it been doing like let's look at last 60 days really quick here. Last 60 days, it's been sitting at about $400. So it was 600, 600, and then straight down the mountain. Got as low as 350. It's back up to around 4. To me, this is another one. If this gets down to that 350-ish point again, I bet you that's the lowest it's been. Yeah, 368. This 350 sale, 366. 366 seems to be about the lowest it got for the last little while. The last 180. Yeah, 366 seems to be the floor. So if this thing goes sub $400 again, you could snag one at auction for 350, 360, 375, or maybe a cash deal for sub 400. I'd be interested. I don't know that I'm running out to buy it at 400, but if I could get it in that $300 to $400 range, different story. And he's another one. You know the narrative next year is going to be, oh, Cuny's coming back. He's looking good. And then you just sell it before it even, honestly, he's one I would sell before it even gets to spring training. If it got a nice run up, I would just move it to spring training. Because what happens? Spring training starts, oh, we're going to baby him a little bit. We're going to ramp him up. He's going to go to extended spring training, and then it'll come back down again. So I think the play is just sell it in the run up to spring training and get off the card before camps even open. So maybe you got to move it a little bit earlier than you think. But to me, it just feels pretty safe. I just don't, once this thing kind of levels out in that 300-ish range, maybe just barely sub $400 range, I just don't see this thing tanking much lower, and it's eventually going to slowly start creeping back up again. 2 bonus ones really quick, and these are just guys, kind of regardless of the charts and graphs, they just seem too cheap. I talk about them all the time. Devers PSA 10 Chrome refractor, sitting at like $135. To me, if this thing gets to like $100 after the season, all day long. Bo Bichette, same way. I really hope the Blue Jays miss the playoffs. I really want the Blue Jays to miss the playoffs because I want to buy Vlad and I want to buy Bo Bichette on the dip. Once again, PSA 10 refractors are sitting at about 125. These were up to 150 for a hot minute, and it looks like there's been a couple sales to pull it back down again. But both these players to me seem very, very fairly priced, or rather undervalued compared to the numbers that they're putting up. If you look at Devers and Bichette's numbers, they just seem too cheap to me, in my opinion. Maybe they never end up getting the love. I don't know. But if they dip down below $100 a piece on their refractors during kind of the doldrums of mid-October to Thanksgiving, I really think from like the start of the NBA season to Thanksgiving is the perfect window for your baseball pickups. That being said, if you see a good deal beforehand, don't hesitate. But I kind of think that's going to be the sweet spot to steal a baseball term. Look what we did there. Like, comment, subscribe. That's all I got for you guys and girls today. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.